Okay, cool. So we're gonna start recording now. And just that way you can play it back later as much as you want. I think there's like a time limit on how long it's able to be looked at, but I know it's available for a long time. So, and just before I know when we go back and forth like this, because we're gonna do it a little bit differently this time. Um, if I interrupt, sorry, it's just because spirit just comes in and is like, okay. So when I was outside, there was this, I want to say kid, but he's not a kid. He's like, um, I want to say he looks like he could be late teens, but that for guys can usually translate anywhere between teens and late 20s. But he is looking down and he says though that he has um, unfinished things in your relationship that needs closure. This would be either a childhood friend or a brother like, but it doesn't feel like their actual brother. Um,
Hmm.
do you think of who that would be? Maybe a
You know, I had a brother who died as a baby, but
right,
I never met him.
right. So
Um,
he would be in his like mid 20s, early 30s, younger than you. And I'm trying to figure out why he's showing at that age. And when they do that, they can do that for many reasons. Sometimes that's their best time that they were, feel presented. Sometimes if it's a child, they can show how old they would be if they were still alive. And sometimes they just choose it. So, because you can choose to look like whatever you want on the other side, but they like to relate. So, um, yeah. And your grandfather is talking about that your husband's car needs an oil change. And so, yeah, that's something to be done. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of car trouble. He's laughing too. It sounds like it might be his grandfather though. He had larger ears and not a big nose, but definitely like a bigger size of a nose.
mhm.
Looked normal and whatnot, but he had big features. But he was kind of barrel chested, but nowhere near fat, and pretty tall. And I want to say like 5'11", 6 feet, that area there too. And he's showing a bubbly beer too. So he is celebrating this season with husband as well. So I guess that was a family something that there's beer attached to it and he's celebrating with it. Not that he necessarily actually drinks the beer or saying that husband drinks the beer. It's just that enjoying festivities that it's made for
Mhm.
adults, the one-on-one. It sounds like husband is super stressed out right now too. There was a little zing in money recently, of where money didn't end up coming through. And I'm asking him what's going on with that. And he says that it will show up in the banks after the holidays.
Oh, good.
So there's that on that. Um, yeah, he says that, yeah, you're working at home, but you're really questioning whether or not you should stay doing this or not. And grandmother's saying that she really needs to do it part-time and then the rest of it in the office. So that's an interesting idea, but I'm asking about money on that. And she's like, well, versus paying other people to do it. Okay. There was a thought though with one of the older kids to put them in a type of preschool or something like that. And then financial matters not matching up for that need. They say that there is what is it? Money will be provided for it. So like a tuition that could be fit in for that. So don't worry too much about that either. Is that something you guys were just thinking about or?
Um, we were struggling with aftercare and trying to figure out what to do with the aftercare situation because it's just horrible. Um,
Right.
like the school itself is great, but they don't have a program for
Right.
pre-K.
But grandma's talking about they can pick her up from the school and take her to that other part, and you can get some type of a grant or a tuition, something for that available. You just have to look for the right places. There's like vouchers or something available
Let's
for
look
that.
into that. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and other kids as well. But the other kids, it doesn't look like they're going to be going that route. It looks more like you get a sitter or somebody to sit in with them. There's somebody, a younger chick that is ready to do this, and she'll be flexible with you for prices. It looks like she's got kind of like, she wears a ponytail a lot and her hair up a lot. She's got like a blondish, brownish long hair. So she's really sweet.
Good.
With the kids. So that will be taken care of as well. You do have a lot of financial hardships. They're saying don't spend too much money and stop stressing over how much you're expected to spend. I guess that has been a lot in arguments and stuff with husband and you about you putting too much pressure on yourself for the holidays.
Yes.
And that he's kind of with that, kind of double-sided on it, because he actually ends up spending a lot of money, and it gets really kind of cranky in that part too, because it's like, well, here on one side he's telling you not to spend the money, but he goes and does it himself, so that doesn't quite make sense. But that's for you to deal with. Let's see here, what else? Unfinished business also with your mom. It's been a while since you've seen her. She's on the other side. Yeah, she feels like she's so close with you that she's visiting. She's in this realm all the time that it feels like she has more business here than she does on the other side like that with you, especially during the holidays. She said that she liked to make everything picture perfect for the holidays. And she uses that verbiage, that picture perfect, and that she regrets how she trained you as she was raising you, and that she uses those words, that she trained you to be like this. So I guess the pictures had to be perfect, everything had to be picture perfect, and in fact she would come and judge you on the holidays as well, to see how well you were doing on the year by how much you could present how happy you were through those, putting those things up, and making sure everything was perfect, because in her world that was a stance of a woman, and how well they're doing is if they had time to make everything perfect. So she says she's really sorry for training you that way. If she would have known then what she knows now, she would have done it differently. But she's asking you to be very careful over the holidays as well. And it looks like you have a sister here, right? No? Okay. There's a woman that should be close to you, like a sister-like energy, that it could be work. You'll have to figure out which one this is, but somebody who you're kind of losing track with that should be really close with you. So take a look at that too. That feels like that could be, it's not a work relationship, but you know each other through work. Some friendship that hasn't been seen in a long time. So and this particular person, she has straight kind of medium hair, fuller figure, just like not, it's genuinely straight hair, like a medium brown color. And so keep an eye out for that. It's time for you to reach out to her and smooth things over. And it looks like with the office, because I was asking about the office stuff from last time, it looks like a lot of that stuff is cleared up, but there's also broken relationships from that as well. And you're, trying to find a peace about it. You're trying to, make sure that you didn't burn bridges. And no, you didn't. There's some things on her part that she'll get over on that, especially with the expectations that's her ego, not for you. Yeah. But, if you were, because I was asking, well, did she burn her bridges? So, what is it going to be like for social circles and things where you're networking and cross each other's paths? A little awkward, but, you'll get through it on that part. So talking about too, that there was like she's saying that there was a mess left behind from that transition, not a physical mess, but just the whole situation was a mess, and to walking out of that scene. Because I was asking her too, do you mean physically or do you mean metaphorically? And she's saying metaphorically. One of the biggest struggles right now is she's showing me a lot of your solar plexus and working from your solar plexus, that it's been really hard for you to ground lately. It's been really hard for you to speak your truth. It's been really hard not to only be wrapped up in emotion rather than grounded decisions, grounded understandings. And you feel kind of lost in that part too, because every area that you're going, it's almost like you feel like you're spinning your wheels in every direction and not sure what's worth paying off and what's not, what is paying off and what's not paying off. And a lot of why this situation is the way that it is right now, it's because guides and universe, God is really making sure that this is an opportunity of growth for you to speak your truth, speak your heart and mind, and don't settle for anything less than that. So, and they'll test you on it too by putting you through these things that where normally you, if during fight or flight mode for you, in these situations, you're more likely to fly than fight. And they're asking you to do the opposite, to really actually fight for where you stand. Also, there's been problems with your bank as well, as far as like income. There's overdraws, there's all sorts of, hidden fees, things that last minute bills you weren't expecting. And speaking of which, you will be traveling to for an illness in the family here too. So that feels like a great uncle that is sick. So, but it looks like I wouldn't say naturally sick because nobody's naturally sick, but yeah, but it's something that it's not going to be too big of a surprise for that though. Your dad has passed as well. He's here. Okay. He has, yeah, that he'll be here for a bit too, but he feels removed from you a bit too. Sometimes, like what I was saying, that when they're still here, and they have that human still part, it's like they're connected but disconnected, like your mom was connected but disconnected. She's totally past, she's gone through the other side, she's great, we've talked before. However, she's so stuck here too, but she's not quite earthbound, but she wants to be involved in everybody's activities, making sure that everything is going right. And with that, so, and she has a lot of regret for you too, that she feels she put a lot on you and that needs a lot of apologies from her to you.
I want to release her from that. Like, I'm cool, like
yeah. She's like, no, you're not cool. No, you're not cool. So that's you're not cool. Quit saying you're fine when you're not fine. That's yeah, so that's something heavy there that you really need to work through. She sees it, so she will release herself when it's time, but like I said, without speaking that truth, you might have been overstepping what is really true. You might think you're past it, but you're really not. So that might be a place to go ahead and look through that and see what is actually there and what isn't. She's saying though that she's missing out on all sorts with you, that she's really struggling. She is kind of crying right now because she feels you are entitled to have her around and she's not there. And that she has a lot of guilt over that altogether. Also, she said that she was really hard on your dad when she was here, and she regrets putting him in a worse light than he really was, and that she wants to apologize to you for. She's saying it was warranted, but I was a lot more harsh than I should have been. I should have let them come to their own conclusions rather than making sure they felt how I wanted them to feel.
Psychologically, she was a product of so many different pieces in this life that broke her and hurt her. And I see that, and I knew that while she was here. So I know she doesn't want me to release her, but like, I hear that piece, like psychologically, I get that.
Yeah. That guilt. Yeah, if you don't mind later on, I wouldn't mind talking to her too, because I mean, she's passed through to the other side, but why does she keep like struggling being here? It's just like she really feels a serious obligation to make sure that you, and she keeps talking about a brother, are taken care of. So the brother, though, it doesn't make sense to me. I have a feeling it is probably the past brother because he is right there with her, if that makes sense. He
You
was the
saw him-
one.
She saw him before she passed. She kept saying, "My baby is there. My baby is there."
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Because I mean, she's talking about like he's present, and he, when he came through and showed himself to me, I was outside. I know I'm not supposed to, but I was having a cigarette, and I'm dying. What's it gonna do? Um,
Whatever you want to smoke at this point, like
I mean,
I think
really.
well,
Um,
in general, it's the holidays. You get to smoke whatever the fuck you want to get through the holidays.
That's all I'm saying. But he kept on looking with his head down, and it wasn't because he was fearful or anything like that. He just keeps on talking about unfinished business. So there's a lot of this season right now, you're going through a lot of unfinished business, and that's kind of what's holding you back. That's what's causing the money stuff. A lot of the tradition that you were taught, raising about ideas about money, interacting with your husband, this you both are on a different page than what religion has always told you that you're supposed to be, but at the same time there's a struggle with the power push of how does it really look like with your evolving family. And husband is trying to be super supportive of it, but he doesn't quite understand what that looks like because he's a man. And with that, with his family, the way that the men were everything. They were the first ones to make sure that they were taken care of first. And so he's feeling like a lot of it, he's giving you everything that he can, but there's only so much he's capable of giving you as well. So, and that is a hard part there too. Also, just because there's been such a flooding with the financials and him feeling like he's just drowning in it, it's really hard he wants to get onto your level and make sure that you're soothed as well, but he is having a real struggling time with it. Is his sister, does he have a sister? No. I wonder if it's a cousin that's a female, but right about his age. She would be past. She's
I
got
don't.
kind of reddish hair.
I'm not sure.
Okay. It looks like an accident involved. You might want to talk with him too. Maybe it's a childhood friend, but she would be about the same age. That she keeps on saying he was like my big brother. So yeah, check into that.
She's in spirit. She's not here.
She's in spirit. She's got kind of like carrot red hair, the red hair, and maybe he knew her in school, whatnot. She's telling me she died in a car accident. So, yeah, looking at that. But it's kind of funny that normally your husband doesn't always pop up in readings, but he's like just because you're both in the thick of it. So with all that background there, does that resonate with what you're going through? And
yes.
Okay.
It's interesting because I keep asking my daughter, like, have you seen anyone? And I guess not regularly I ask her, but every now and then, and she'll
Yeah.
say that she's seen Grandma Marge,
Yes.
Chris's mom,
Yes.
and that they have like this bizarre, like it's so
they've had tea, they've colored together, they've colored, and your daughter's put those pictures up on the window. That was her idea. Let's put it on the window. And yes, they're together all the time. She's saying you're right, mama. So you're right, mama. So yeah, that's her. Yeah.
But like what I don't know, I mean, if mom is more earthbound, like why is my mom not visiting her, or is she? And
she does, but
chilling.
that's the thing, is that she's there with her because there's more than one that your daughter can see and experience, but they're all there at the same time. So a kid can't quite translate how many are around.
Oh,
They just know that it's around. So
okay.
they might be sharing that same space of energy too, but your mom says though that she's there and that's what I was referring to her about putting up the pictures on the window. So
Very true. Oh, wow.
yeah, there was like coloring book page or something that she had done a picture and then your mom was like, let's put it on the window. So that way it's really bright so the whole world can see it. Um, she
Yeah.
might also have understood a name as being the incorrect name, because she's never seen this person or
Right.
hasn't been in a long time. So, but she's referring to your mother as well. So
Okay.
that's into the lump into the one person, but it's not. And it's
Mhm.
her, it's not one person either. It's just so that she's so young, she doesn't know how to,
How
you
to
know,
deal with it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And how do you say to a kid too? I'm always curious about this. Do you see one or do you see two? How do you know it's one? How do you do it within in an organic way?
Mhm.
And also explaining to her that what she is seeing is actually two different beings. They're both grandma though. They both feel like grandma. They're that is true, but they're not the same ones. So and you have the ability to say to her in a way whatever works for you, hey, I feel this person around, this person told me that you can feel them, that's really cool. So then it opens up the door of yes, that's there, she's not going to get in trouble for doing that, but
I
it's
love it. Oh, yeah.
registering that, oh, okay, that's yeah, and then she'll probably open up about that and be like, oh yeah, this person has been here too, but communicating that is really difficult. So yeah, and that's
Okay.
something that the younger ones have that ability as well, but there's no way that they could communicate that stuff right now. That's not, other than, staring at dead space and your son though has younger ones around him too that jumping off the bed and because he's playing with his friend. So so yeah, they're jumping off the bed together and your son can fully see him. He's a little boy that it's about his age. So
Like
that's playing.
connected to us through family or like just random?
It feels like family or a same age guide, or he's got darker brown hair and like chocolate color hair, and he's really small frame as well. He has a lisp. He's so sweet, but yeah, he does that with your son too. So I might take a look at that.
I wonder if it's one of my losses. I
I
wonder if,
wonder too. I wonder too. This one, yeah, he's got like not black hair, not that kind of, but like chocolate, like
interesting.
yeah, yeah. And he's got green eyes. He has a little bit of a lisp. But yeah, he's so cute. He's so cute. He is also doesn't hear in his ear, his left ear.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's neat.
Huh.
That's neat. Yeah,
Huh.
but he jumps off the bed with your son. So and gets into
In the morning, the first thing we hear is like a thud, like he's on and off the bed. He like jumps on heart. Like my children are crazy. I love them, but they're
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Yeah, well, this little guy is giving them ideas. You do have them around. You have three specifically kids of yours that are on the other side that are around your kids all the time. There's three of them. So
Um,
there's another boy and a little girl. Um, yeah, so those are with. Do you remember? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The little girl looks just like you, just like you. Um, down to your hair color, I mean, she was lighter blonde, she had braids and longer hair. She's super cute. Um, she's
but
kind of clumsy,
I'll
huh?
never see her in this life. She'll
Uh,
never come.
she can appear to you. Yes, yes.
But she's not gonna like she's not
Oh
like a
no,
future.
no,
Okay.
no, 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 no. My understanding is that there's no more kids coming up. So that's yeah, unless you guys are somewhere trying to, but these are kids that have passed. They're not they have a totally different feeling like that. Um,
We have a couple left that I the doctor has advised that health-wise, it would not be a good choice for me, and I think I would lose my mind, but I also, it
Don't want to
breaks
let
my
them
heart.
go.
I would love to take them if I could, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good choice for me. But we still don't know. We haven't made a choice about them yet. So right
Yeah.
now they're just there.
Right. Right. And that could very well be that's your choice, but I don't see them like as they didn't say, hey, we're going to be around at this time or anything like that.
It could have
The
been
ones that are with your, huh? I don't.
I think probably a previous loss. That's the sense I
Yeah,
get.
it feels like that because I don't see any of upcoming kids coming up. I would be so surprised. And that, free will is everything. So I mean, it could technically happen, but usually you see, either grandmothers especially, and relatives usually hold them on their lap when they're presenting like this, saying this is an upcoming something that is going to happen. And I've never had it of where I was wrong on.
No, you're right. I just I'm sad because I hate the fact that they're lost. I would love them to
They're
be
not
with me.
lost though. Those are embryos in there, but they don't have a soul in them. They're not at all, not at all. They're completely the soul implantation doesn't happen until it implants into your body. So, and genders, they have up until that very moment to decide if they want to be male or female.
Yep.
So that's, yeah. So even if they were boy on the other side, they can change their mind and come in. And that is, yeah,
I love it.
implantation. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I know we're winding down, but I just have one more. Well, kind of two more quick
Ask me.
questions
Yes,
about
ask me. I'm here. I'm here. I'm loving
um,
this. I'm loving this.
my.
I want to make sure that I'm answering what you're doing. And normally I do a forecast type of thing, but I was getting an urgency from your grandma that you need to hear face to face kind of things this time. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing the other style. We're just going to go with what. And your grandfather's like, she has lots of questions. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not even going to do cards or anything like that. We're just, and she goes, yeah, that's what she needs. So I want to be sure that I'm not just blah and telling you everything on that because there's heart matters that you need
It,
to. And I don't normally ask for people to ask questions. However, with what you're going through right now, it is important for you to because that's part of your growth of speaking your truth. So
I so appreciate that, and I love you. Everything that you said, you're on. I This is okay. I have two questions. This is kind
ask
of
away.
embarrassing, but I'm just gonna say it. Like
Yeah, don't be embarrassed.
I have been up and down in a terrible state of depression for
I
like
know.
months,
I know.
and I'm I hate it, and I don't. I feel like I'm drowning, and I'm taking medicine, and I'm going to therapy, and I'm doing
Hmm.
everything that I can do,
Hmm.
but I feel like I'm drowning sometimes, and I have
Hmm.
terrible. I would never do anything, but I just go to these very dark places,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm just
It's
wondering.
postpartum, honey. I know that the kids are a little bit older, but they're still young enough too that this is the leftover parts of postpartum.
Mm,
That's not all the way out of your system. And it's lasting a little bit longer because of all the stress in your body, because your body hasn't had time to really process those chemicals that are floating around. So your body's producing extra cortisol and causing extra pain and all of that stuff to happen too. But also, you are getting changes in your periods as well right now.
mm,
With it, it looks like I would check out for those cysts that are appearing too, because that's part of it as well.
mm,
Just to let you know that those are it has to do with hormone switches with you and a lot of postpartum that nobody ever addressed with you and or how long it lasts and what. And I'm not, no depression or anxiety is quote unquote normal or unnormal. It just, it is what it is, but it's required. Your body starts doing that when its needs are not being met. So with not dealing with specifics like serious self-care, in your case, a lot of it, there's so much unfinished business that has, you thought you worked through it, you thought you went past it, you thought you're over it, but it's awfully triggering right now. And it's part of the depression. And I only put quotes around it because I really hate labeling that stuff, because sometimes it's really necessary for the body to go through that depression and anxiety, because it needs to purge. You need to weigh through and go all of it from the inside out and really truly process that grief management. So,
do you see that ending like anytime soon? Because
oh yeah, it's going to take a couple years, though. So, because it's that combination. I really need you to check with your OB as well. Look, it was polycystic ovarian syndrome. So you're having periods that are farther out than they used to be, and with spotting in between too. That's like, it looks like a period might start, but instead it's a little gush, and then it's done. Like you're going a long time in between periods too, because you guys are doing self birth control, right? Not actual.
we're not even doing anything. That's the thing, is that like there's just no time to do anything.
But what I'm talking about is like when you're fertile, just kind of easing up a bit,
There's honestly, there's not, like, I can't even get 5 minutes alone with him, and I
Yes.
haven't since the twins were born.
That's fair. Well, I know firsthand what that's like. Yeah, totally understand that. Yeah, but what I'm saying though is like, it's also, he has slower swimmers himself. So between the both of you, you guys are not likely to get pregnant. And the reason why you're not getting pregnant is not because you can't, but the timing is so bad on that. And plus with the polycystic ovarian syndrome, you're just not ovulating enough. It's by the time, there's no way to sync that up unless you're really digging into your fertility, and that is not the time for you to do it. So but you can do a family, it's like a natural way of doing it, and it actually would help you a lot too. I'm going to have you write down a book name. Do you have a pen and paper with you?
I can.
This is on recording too, so you can play it back later too. It's Taking Charge of Your Fertility by Toni Weschler, and it's Toni is her first name, Toni, and then Welschler, Welchler, and it's taking care of your fertility, or taking charge of your fertility. I'm saying that here like that, so that way when you rewind and play it through, you can write it out easily. But go on to Amazon and get that book. And the reason why is because when it comes to dealing with the polycystic ovarian syndrome, also I'm hearing you have light endometriosis on it too, some mild scarring. Because of what's going on with your periods, your hormones are shifting too. You're going to be doing menopause earlier than what a lot of people do. Keep that in mind as well. But this book itself will help get you through these times right now too, and talk about extra vitamins and stuff like that goes along with it. But it's also one of those books that's kind of nasty, but it gives really good detail of your different cervical mucus throughout your entire cycles, and what it means, what it does, what to look for. But it's a way of also controlling having children as well. So, and doing it naturally without birth controls and stuff like that. So that would help you a lot too. It's not for getting pregnant, although however this works that's how I got pregnant with all my kids, and I had massive infertility stuff, and my friends all had massive infertility stuff too, and that book is what worked. So it works on the other side too of treating what's causing. So that's something that is super.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the twins, that was the last thing I wanted, their health.
The what?
The twins' health.
So who's got the reflux?
So it might be
it's like obstructive.
It might be Christian, but like there are some developmental delays for both of them, and it's disturbing me greatly.
Yeah, they'll catch up. They'll catch up and they'll catch up just fine, but they're going to have delays for a while because of how they were born. But don't worry, they're going to check out just like every other kid. They have a bunch of small health issues along the way going through, and also with somebody with the way that they walk.
Yeah.
And also there's a speech impairment too.
Yeah.
So that's something actually that runs in your family is eardrums that aren't formed all the
Oh.
way too, but it'll catch up. It's not that big of a thing. Just doing a speech therapy and stuff like that as they're going, that'll be just fine. So don't worry. They're just like every other kid. They're just running a little behind because of
Okay.
their
That's
twinness.
that's pushed me over the edge recently, like because I went over and back into my mind. I parented the same way. I did my pregnancy the same way. I was
Mhm.
sicker with them, but I
Mhm.
still, they didn't hurt for that. Like they were
Yeah.
always okay. So I was like,
Yeah, they're going to have delays, absolutely, especially in learning as well. One of the kids had more oxygen than the other one did, and that's part of the delay as well. So, and both of them had jaundice. It looks like blood sugar issues with your little girl, but those have worked themselves a lot out. The delays coming up, there's speech impairment, there's something about the way walking or some type of something there. And but those things will clear up. Those things will definitely, you'll look back and go, wow, that was ages ago, but they will be regular, normal, healthy. Autism as well, some autism with your son. But that's part of their genius. So
but like high on the spectrum or just no?
no, just a little, you need to understand him, for his mind. Yeah, it's not something that a lot of people would even notice,
It's
but
so
it's there.
interesting because I work with autistic kids every day and it
Yeah.
never even, I mean,
Yeah.
yes,
Well, there's
now that
so
I
much
see
on the
it, yeah,
spectrum
maybe.
too,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, well, yeah, you know what to do with it. But these are things that to not worry about. They're
Okay.
beautiful, functioning children. They just have some delays, but it's also part of the charm.
He gets so excited, like he's just happy to be there. And
Mhm.
he's got like such a good, I think, I'm mom, but like he looks at me and like they're out of all of my children, like I feel like he gets me in some
Yeah.
way. Like
Yeah.
he's just like, he's, he's, he drives me crazy, but like he'll look at me and
Of
touch my
course.
nose and say, mama. And, it just blows me out of the water.
Yeah,
He's like my
but
little
he doesn't
cherub.
talk as much either. So he acts a lot, but he doesn't talk as much as he acts. Does that make
He'll
sense?
repeat, he'll repeat stuff. Like
Hmm.
it's not functional language. He'll like
Hmm.
say the alphabet or the numbers. And he'll like make you point to the book because he wants you to say rhino or zebra, but it's not like I'm telling you something like, or he'll say bah, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's part of why though. But that's beautiful. They're very smart, very, very smart. But making sure that you understand how their minds work too to give them the best support possible. Because otherwise you will have lots of tantrums, lots of frustration, lots of that if they're not being misunderstood. I mean, not being understood. Also, they do have abilities too. So that's going to be awfully confusing if they have all this stuff going on and it's not being supported and loved and raised up, so you're good at that, but don't worry about their health will be just fine. Your son does need that new GERD medicine that's supposed to be changing.
Really.
uh yeah, yeah, so check that out because he's been having a hard time choking on that at night as well, it looks like.
He's not eating the same way that she eats. Like
Yeah.
he's very, very, very picky.
That's fine.
And yeah,
Yeah, if he decides he wants to eat macaroni and cheese for the rest of his life, that's fine.
I,
That's
it's like peanut butter in a jar and milk, and like that's, thank God he likes peanut butter and cheese, occasionally cheese and
Yeah,
fruit. But I
yeah.
mean, it's
But he
the repertoire
understands
is
those
not
foods
big.
too. It's part of his process. So that's totally understandable.
That's good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
I know we need to stop. I think a future reading, I had no idea mom was around me as much as, because it's so
Yeah.
disconnect. Like, if I were to say, who do you feel connected with most on the other side who's there? I would say my grandmother.
Yeah,
I
of
love
course.
my grandfather dearly, but
Of
like
course.
I feel her more, but
Yeah,
she's
and
also
she's
very,
here right now. But she's like, no, let your mom speak too now too. But that's probably why she came through earlier this week, because she knew your mom would come through first. So as well. So she wanted to make sure that she had time as well. So yeah, and we're fine. You can ask whatever too. Really want to make sure that the season is working for you, and that, because like the past readings that I've done with you too, did everything check out the way that we had talked and all that?
it's interesting. Like the, even when you talked about the office, my home became my office. And when you described like the brick, the outside of my home, it's colonial. Like it
Oh,
looks, it's got like the brick there. So it's interesting. I think it was my home office type
that I
thing.
was
That,
seeing.
yes, but it was
Cool.
wonderful. I mean, we're very happy to be in this space.
Yeah,
It's just it's interesting, and you're right, like I didn't do anything intentionally to burn bridges, but I had nothing to say to her, and so I never engaged with her. I did
right.
whatever I and we're both friendly with this same person that rents the building, and like I,
Oh, okay.
I wish her no ill will. Like, she sent me a client, I worked with the client,
Oh,
that
good.
while we were on speaking terms, and while we weren't on speaking terms, I was still working with the client. But
Yeah,
I probably, had I been on good terms with her, I probably would have called her a couple of times to talk about the client. But she was stable. Like, it wasn't like she was unsafe or unwell. But
right.
anyway, that's that piece that, like, I didn't even know what to say. And I have nothing ill against her. It was a
Yeah.
misunderstanding. And
She's weird.
she is so
Weird.
strange.
She
And
doesn't, you can say one thing and she'll turn it, twist it, manipulate it into her own understanding. And then she holds on to it and then
like,
uses it
doesn't let
like
it go.
so. Yeah, and she's so matter of fact about it that she's taking it in a context where it's immovable. It's, you said this, and that is, it's ridiculous. You can't work with that kind of.
And she was very, like, it ended up there was a third person in the office. They got rid of that third person, and she expanded her office. So she was
Oh,
pleased as
good.
punch. And I
Good.
was like, that's
Good
fine.
riddance.
But got, like, she took over my office with hers. And psychologically speaking, she needed to do that. Like, there was part of her that needed to get me out, and she got me out, and she took my space, and she
Yeah.
was happy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I'm glad all that stuff worked out. But I know it's really cramped at home too. Um, you know about all the self-care bits and stuff. I'm not going to pour any of that stuff onto you, because you know what you can practically do and not do for yourself, and how much time you have for yourself, and in what context that means. Right now, this is self-care time for you too, because it's something you're not having to share with anybody or do anything like that. What I'm trying to get to is that there's a lot of grace that needs to happen for you, for yourself. And a lot of the season with this too is about understanding what expectations you have for yourself and adding grace onto it too, because you have a lot of traditional beliefs and things that you were tradition in the context of family tradition, things that you were trained to be, that you are supposed to be, that the expectations of what you're supposed to be, that doesn't jive the way that your life works right now. So you're going to need to take a look at that and change the verbiage, change the expectations, and throw a lot of grace on yourself too, because there's no way for you to claim that grace until you even know what it's supposed to feel like. So it's going to be a work on that part, but it has to do with really going into your feelings too and speaking your truth, and understanding what that truth is in every area of the word. So while it'll be a little bit of a bumpy road moving on, it's just as it's supposed to be. And just try to take as much time out as you humanly can for yourself to do absolutely nothing, create a whole separate life for yourself or something. You know what I mean? Like you need an escape out of
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's okay to be disconnected. It's okay to be, how the whole part of what is it, attachment disorders and things like, no, it's okay for you to have an attachment disorder at this time for the type of protection of what you have, of everything built up and all the expectations and the limitations. And then darn it, the limitations from having a bunch of kids close together. And the reality of that, when most families are not like that, well, we were set aside to be like that. So, it's meant to be. But yeah. Yeah. And your kiddos, the little ones running around with your other kiddos, that's pretty cool. And jumping off the beds and doing all that stuff too. And misunderstanding that they're seeing two grandmas, not just one. And
That's amazing. I was so sad they didn't have a grandma on this side, so I'm happy that they have. And I always wondered, like, would my mom be judgy that I had 3 kids? But it seems
no,
like
she's proud of you. Yeah. No, she's absolutely proud of you and her little perfect world. Are you sure that's responsible? Are you sure you can handle this? Those judgy things doesn't exist for her anymore. And that's what I'm talking about, that type of guilt from traditions, that she wants to work a lot of that out with you. There's a lot of unfinished business with your family members and yourself in relationships, because that's what makes you believe your truth about who you are, your self-value, your self-worth today. So that adjustment needs to be cleared up too. Think about with your own kiddos too. Do you want them to have this kind of guilt on themselves?
oh,
Right.
absolutely not.
So treating yourself as though you don't know this little girl, but this is the little girl that you are taking care of, that's yourself. And how would you treat her? Would you tell her? And remove yourself from yourself, so that way you can that's how you feel something different, is by actually removing yourself from that situation. So, and eventually it all merges together like that. So it's going to take that season to get through that depression and everything else, because it's required of you to feel. So as much as that sucks, it's really, really important. You will have some adjustments in your medicine as well. So there's some there's for you, because it's depression, yes, but also you have times where you have absolute rage and going on with you too, that it's part of everything as well. So there will be a medicine that's included too to help that. So, and you have a male doctor that is yeah for that department. So yeah.
There was anxiety medicine for a while, and it's there
meh.
on occasion. But sorry,
It's meh. It doesn't really work that great. It's like, thanks for that, but
they're so crazy about, like, they, when I get the addiction thing, but I was like, honey, if I wanted to get high, I'd call one of my clients. Like, please. Like,
for real, right? That's the truth.
I'm like,
Yeah.
there are so many things I could have been hooked on by now if I'm not hooked.
Don't
Give me
worry
the
about it.
Xanax so I can sleep. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, you have to get cancer to get this medicine. That's the only reason why they say yes to me right now, is because I'm stage 4. I was like, really? That's really messed up. But see, it really takes that to get what? I'm sorry, that was a total
No, you were
messed up joke there.
no. I hear you. I just, like, you are so beautiful and so vibrant, and it's like hearing that it's not connected with that. Like, stage 4 doesn't, like, when I think of you, that's not. I know that's part of who you are right now, but I just it break, like,
It's hard to
I don't know.
understand, to imagine that I have that too, because I seemingly come off
No, and I don't want to believe it. Like, I know it, but
right,
I don't want it to be true. And I
right,
know it's my own stuff. I shouldn't
and
even
that's
say that
okay.
to you, but that's um
Right. No, I get you. I get you. Yeah, and I know how you mean it too, and I appreciate that, and I hold all sorts of love space for you. So yeah, I really do. So this season, though, that's what it's going to be about, working for you. It's a lot of that self-care and a lot of actually removing yourself from the situation, so you can look at yourself from the inside out in a totally different way, because the way that you have always done it is not working for you. But you weren't trained how to do anything different because of all the models that everybody else was taught to teach. So this is a way of doing it the other way around. But also talking about either the looking for cysts as well, and the polycystic ovarian syndrome. You'll have an ultrasound soon too. But getting that step underway will help too. So it's not, you don't have hypothyroid. There's nothing with your thyroid, but it does have a lot to do with the other stuff going on.
I just need this sadness to ebb, and I feel like there's so many things I have to be happy about, and I am happy, and I'm the same, like it's like I hold the sadness on the same level, and it's so painful. I
Right.
just like no one, I go around my day and like no one knows. My therapist kind of knows, but like I don't really converse with anyone with how dark it gets.
Right.
And so I feel like I'm isolated from Chris in a certain way from that, because I don't tell
He
him
doesn't
how bad
know.
it is.
Yeah. There is a women's support group though in your area that that does abuse recovery um, and grief recovery as well, but it's through a church. So I don't know if you would be okay with that or not. But to look into those women's groups, they're closed groups though, so only for a season, such things at a time. But looking into that, bonding with other women who have been through this too is huge. And also finding a polycystic ovarian syndrome women group there, that would be a really good one for you as well, because these are the hormonal things that everybody goes through, and it's so very misunderstood. So, because when you do get cramps, they are out of control, and that causes a lot of the turmoil emotionally and spiritually for you as well. There's a lot of trauma. Oh, I guess with the twins, did you have hemorrhaging? Yeah. That's what they're saying, and it's tied to that. The you feel like everything's being ripped out of you when that's happening. So their PTSD that is connected with that feeling as well. So that's something that needs to be dug into and looked at as well.
With
So
all of the losses, it was really very, very bad. They had me start blood thinners too early
yeah,
after,
yeah.
and it was a bad combo. I was very
Hmm.
bad.
Hmm. Well, that PTSD needs to be dealt with though. So that's something under the trauma care that's what's bringing up the depression stuff right now. Not just that alone, but it's part of a whole on that. So I'm speaking that truth and getting to it and allowing yourself the grace to do it.
Do the people on the other side, will they help me with that? Or
Of course, of course.
yeah,
Until you are totally open with receiving them, I would just keep it like as you are. Know that they can hear you, but don't try to tap in too deep on that until you're ready emotionally to do that, because it can start to get really confusing. And I don't want you to be misunderstood or spiritually for things to come through that's not supposed to come through and take advantage of where you are right now. So
mm,
if you're specifically not seeing it right now, but I know you're feeling it, honor that. It's guides shielding you from things that you're not supposed to experience, so you can experience what you're supposed to experience. So
mm.
don't hold expectations on seeing, but I know you feel it. So just rest in that.
Yes, that's fine. I don't need extra. If
Yeah.
I get what I get,
Not
that's
yet. You
fine.
will, but not yet. Not yet. You will.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes. One season at a time.
Okay.
But that's going to help a lot, especially that women's group too. So you need other women to connect with, and
Definitely.
daycare being provided as well there. So it's free and it's fine. So you'll be okay with that
Mm,
as well. So
mm.
mama needs some extra time.
Yes, I think being able to, speak with other people that are outside of the clan, it's like you get so focused in on the parent role that you're like, oh, wait, I
Yeah.
have adults that I can talk, it's really nice. It's sad.
Yeah, I know firsthand. I know firsthand for real. It's an experience you can't ever explain to anybody unless they've gone through it themselves. Um, and that's a huge thing too, is that you don't have enough people to relate with. So finding any groups of people who you can truly relate with, twins groups as well. Those I can't stand, but if it's your cup of tea, awesome. Um, it is not my cup of tea. Um, but that could be fun for your kids as well because twin moms go through different things and only other twin moms can really understand. So no
I'm
way around it.
for
And
that
everybody,
twin language, because they do not have twin language. They're like, I effing shared a room with you for 9 months, whatever. Like they just not. But I think
really,
that's mental stuff. They're like, are you gonna take my food? Are you gonna take my shit? All right, good. So
that's awesome. That's crazy. Yeah. Well, with identical twins, it's different because they're obsessed with each other. But yeah, like, oh, yeah. Do you have any other questions for me?
that those were thank you. You were very gracious and kind to answer the ones that you answered. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that.
no
And I
problem.
think with mom, it's gonna be like a future session when I'm not in as bad of a place right now. Um, I think that I can't really do much work with her now while I'm just trying to get through the holidays. Like there's nothing.
And
Um,
she doesn't want you to. She's holding space for you. You don't need to hold space for her. That's not what she's not having you do that for her. She needs to give you time, so, and a lot of grace as well, because she didn't show you that when she was on here, or what her expectations were
so her
nuts.
being hard on me was more about her stuff, not mine.
Her stuff, because the way that she was raised and how a woman should look and how she should act, and this is how she deals with anything, any trauma in the house. But she didn't, they would never call it that. It was, you had to be able to take care of your stuff. It was unacceptable to be depressed or to be any way. And if you were, you better hide that. You don't want people to think that you can't control your own stuff.
That's
That's
right.
what she regrets teaching you. So, and that's what she pointed out, that that's what she always put on you and expected you to be that woman. And she is really sorry about that. She is really, really sorry about that. So, because that's not, it's taken her a long time to learn it, but so she wants to spend as much time as she can with you to show you that love. So,
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah.
Rock.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, because she biffed it so hard on the earthly plane. She wants to make sure that she loves you on from there. So in the way
That's
you need to be loved. And she understands
wow.
distance. Yeah. Before she was
Um,
pretty smothering. Now she's like distance on, like, I will be here as you need me, not demanding your space, not demanding. She's totally opposite over there because she's gone through her closure stuff on things, but she wants you to have yours. And she's part of your trauma and she knows that. So that's where that healing comes from.
that's powerful. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I so love that you were okay to do this reading. It was a gift, and
Yeah.
I am so grateful. And I'm gonna go on Facebook, and I'll pay you through Facebook if there's any
Sure,
problem.
that should be fine. That
Um,
should be fine. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, and I
Thank you.
love doing readings for you too. I love that, popping in on you and seeing how you are and all that too. So
I'm
that's
thinking about you tonight. I'm like, after you said that you had checked in, I'm like, oh, Carrie, welcome to the shit show. Like, this is a situation comedy. Like, if you only saw, and I don't know to what extent you saw, but it was like,
Oh, I saw everything. There was like things being thrown around. There's cushions on the floor. There was all the books taken off of the shelves. There was food and hair.
oh,
There was, oops. There we go. We're good over here. No, it's okay.